Hey MMT followers, Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology for another quick MMT chat. My guest today is Kelly Kasner, a Director of Sales and Marketing for Michiana Global Mold, and she is also one of MMT's new Editorial Advisory Board members. Michiana Global Mold designs and builds highly complex and intricate plastic and rubber injection molds in the U.S. for the automotive, the electronics, and the consumer products industries. And what's kind of special, they do it in collaboration with overseas partners or an overseas partner. So hello, Kelly.
Hello, Christina. Thank you for the opportunity to video chat with you today.
No problem. All right, so Kelly brings a marketing and advertising background to mold making, which is often missing or not a priority in a mold shop, as everybody knows. So you're now Director of Sales and Marketing at MGM, and you manage overall business development and marketing operations. So let's break that down. So what does a day in the life of Kelly look like?
Well, it's very busy these days, which is a good thing. But my days at MGM routinely include multiple aspects of business development and for marketing operations. I mean, it's just as important to not only manage current accounts and current customers, as well as it is to targeting engagement with those desired customers that we haven't met yet. So my marketing strategies on a regular basis include not only inbound and outbound marketing, but also communication within the industry and within the community. And that's to better position our branding so that we can attract more of our desired customers.
Yeah, so how do you think, with this being kind of unique, I think, especially for the small to mid-sized shop, how do you think that position has helped MGM grow and stay competitive? Like really express how important you think marketing is.
Right, exactly. It is, you know, especially in this day more than ever. I mean, MGM has had a very strong reputation in the industry for its legacy as well as for its tenured, experienced talent. But someone such as myself who's dedicated to sales and marketing, I've learned to capitalize on those company strengths to introduce ourselves to customers in different industries that we may or may not have traditionally had the opportunity to introduce ourselves to. Back in the 1960s when MGM first opened, we were strictly 100% automotive, and rightfully so. I mean, we're in the mecca of the Midwest, being in Southwest Michigan, Northwest Indiana. So our diversification as a result of those targeted marketing efforts and reaching out to capitalize on our strengths has allowed us to diversify to help stabilize the workflow, so that way we are not so dependent or subject to industry-related economic conditions. So, and then it allows us to be more competitive by being able to articulate some value-added capabilities, such as the design to concept, assisting with the design and development on that concept to completion.
So when you think about your job and what you've seen it happen at MGM, what is your number one, just give me one tip for other shops when it comes to sales and marketing and business development?
Right, exactly. I would say, you know what, now's the time to try something new. I mean, the traditional sales methods, and I have been in sales marketing for a long, long time, and the traditional sales methods of brochures, line cards, trade shows, cold calls, that's just, I wouldn't say it's no longer, but it's no longer can be your primary, interest as far as sales and marketing, and that's what you think of anymore. So I would have to say that the vast majority of the sales process is primarily complete before you even get that email or that phone call with your RFQ, because of the online research that your prospective customer has done before the initial outreach. So I have to say that if you have various demographics of your desired customers, your virtual presence that you have should not only include your capabilities, but should also include your successes. You include your corporate culture. It's just as important to demonstrate your why as it is your what and your who and your how.
I love that, the why. That is definitely a recurring theme. And that word culture, I feel like we've been saying that a lot the past few years especially, but it's not going away. And actually with the onset of COVID, I think culture is even more important now, just from a mental health aspect. All these issues that I don't think shops have typically had to sell themselves on, right? To attract that next generation, to make employees feel safe. I mean, marketing all those aspects of your shop culture are really important. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yes, it's not just a matter of just the product that you sell, but you as an entity is the product that you sell as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, people want to make sure that they know, who they're working with, and
yes.
that. I mean, so that's important. Relationships matter.
Yeah. So speaking of COVID and marketing, have you taken, because of, less travel or no travel, people not letting you in your shops, who knows, maybe not accepting packages, who knows? Is there a specific tactic that you've turned to in terms of marketing the shop this year? That's different.
Well, again, yeah, no, it's I would have to say we've just tried to be a little bit more creative. I mean, I'm old school. I love the face-to-face interaction. I love a good old-fashioned handshake. I want to go into businesses and tour what they do. I mean, people love telling their story, and the fact that we don't have an opportunity to be face-to-face and in each other's work environment in order to tell that story. You have to be creative and figure out a different way to reach one another. So again, through the art of technology, we are able to do that. And you just try to come up with the best case scenario that works for everyone. And persistency counts, because the cost of time and the speed of time is so fast. And that everyone is being inbound now more than ever. And so, I would have to say just to be persistent and, just to be true to yourself.
Yeah, and get creative. I like that. All right. So you're also, I know, very active outside of work, especially with regard to workforce development and training and manufacturing culture, advocacy, business development, local economic development. So talk about this involvement and how that outside work impacts MGM.
Well, as the daughter of a tool maker and growing up in our family business, I've learned the value of people long before I learned the value of our product. And so to witness my father over the years, recruit and train apprentices hands-on, seeing him advocating in our community and nationally for small business, American manufacturing, that instilled in me the same passion. So as a self-proclaimed manufacturing enthusiast, my community and industry involvement has presented MGM with some business opportunities that we haven't had in the past, particularly in different industries that we weren't normally represented. So, and it also helps with our talent recruitment as well. So the fact that I am out there in the industry, I am out in the community, I've taken that opportunity to introduce our industry of mold making to young people, and as the community overall, it's really helped with our talent recruitment and employee retention as well, because they enjoy seeing that. They're proud to wear their MGM or to announce to people in the community that they work for us, because we have such a presence in the community. And I channel that activity mainly through 3 other positions that I have. I'm an active board of director and chapter executive for our local chapter of the National Tooling and Machining Association. I'm also a coordinator for what we call the MAP, but it's a Manufacturing Advancement Program, and it's a partnership that we have with the Goodwill Industries and Training Centers of Michiana. And then I'm also an active support coordinator for our local Manufacturing Day efforts, which introduces tours to area students, and that's through partnership with the South Bend Region Chamber, which is looking altogether different this year because of COVID. And but we're still moving forward. We're still moving forward with that because it's important.
Yeah, just do everything virtually, right? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of these virtual tours popping up too. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, like you said, get creative.
Right.
And the younger generation of everybody with technology understands that. They're the ones that are good at that. So
I know they are.
You're headed that way anyway, if you think about it. So like you're just being, we came up with the phrase, I was talking to somebody else recently, that don't look at COVID as this disruptor. It's been the great accelerator, because a lot of these places, a lot of these things that we were planning to do, we were planning to do anyway. This is just making us look at it and implement them quicker. And technology and all this virtual stuff was going to happen eventually anyway.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So before we move on to more specific details, give me got to give me a snapshot, or give those listening a snapshot of Michiana's specialty and the workforce. So paint a little picture of who you guys are.
Well, with regard to our competitive strategies, it has a lot to do with our China partnership. So, you know, and although COVID has definitely impacted that, but I'd have to say that our China partnership that we have has really put us in a positive niche to be successful in the marketplace. And that kind of evolved back in the early 2000s. Our owners recognized that China was an emerging presence in the mold making market. Right. And they, as a result of being able to offer lower labor as well as alternate mold making standards, have been able to be present in the market offering lower cost tooling. And our customers at the time were expressing an interest in that, and they wanted to explore those options with us. However, our U.S. labor market could not compete with that. So they adopted the, you know, the phrase, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And the quest was on to find a partner. And over several years of trial projects, negotiations, and evaluations, and going through several companies, we finally partnered with a business owner in a company who in turn also wanted to have a presence in the U.S. And they wanted to instill more of an Americanized culture of quality standards, because they wanted to be able to stand out in the now flooded China market. Yeah. So it's been a win-win. Well, you've had that relationship for about 10 years now, and it's been very effective in allowing us to offer multiple options to our customers. Not only that top-notch quality U.S. built tooling, but either also fully or partially sourced molds by our China team, which we fully back and manage and supervise and track from design to dock. And so it's worked out well. I mean, that's a true partnership there. It's not like you're just tossing it over there and they're tossing it back. There's actually collaboration there. And I think that's important for people to know, because even today, just saying China, it's a sensitive subject. So to be able to explain that, I think it is important that it's not just picking somebody out of a book. It's like spending, like you just said, years and finding and developing a relationship with the company over there. Right. So with that, so I was going to ask you to share a tip, you know, for those that might be looking to doing something similar. And I guess it's that, you know, you have to spend time. You do, right? You do. You have to spend the time. And we approached our experiences with our China partnership much like we do with our own home team, and that's through time and talent and technology. So if you take the time to invest in a trusted relationship, you take the time to invest in management and then within technology, and then you utilize that to increase your capabilities as well as your capacity. So and taking time to invest and make sure that you not only want to work with a company that wants to have a U.S. presence and brand themselves being more of abiding by U.S. standards, but I think a mutually beneficial partnership that honors traditional U.S. as well as China heritages is what makes for a successful relationship as well. So you need to be respectful both ways. And also I'd have to say that, the key ingredient is communication. Personally for MGM, we have an in-house engineer that is strictly dedicated to managing our global programs. So he's engaged with the customer, he's engaged with our China team for those effective and continuous communications. And so I think that's critical in having success of our mold build programs. Got it. All right, so speaking a little bit more about COVID, tell me how business is right now. How's business? Well, actually, I'd say surprisingly, we've had a few shifts here and there amongst the various lines that we have. But we are fortunate to be in alignment with our sales forecast that we actually established last year before anyone knew that COVID was even going to hit. So if we could make money off of quoting, we would be, hands above the rest. Literally, our quoting activity is more than doubled compared to what it was in 2019. So yeah, we've been very fortunate with that because it's allowed us to position ourselves for mold build programs that we normally wouldn't have been exposed to by various industries. And this is strictly as a result of the disruption in the supply chain domestic in China. So more people are just reaching out saying, I either need a plan B or a new plan A. Now, is that
opportunity to even take advantage of that opportunity though, that are coming your way, you have to be a certain type of shop with a certain type of systems and processes in place to even be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So is there something, can you describe a little bit about how you think MGM is able to capitalize on those? Some people might have to turn that opportunity away.
Right, we did. And we did have to turn some away because we went through the due diligence of trying to execute some effective communication to find out what needs and expectations were, and then took a look at ourselves. It's like, can we really meet these targeted lead times? Can we really meet these targeted pricing, and delivery? And although that we've quoted numerous COVID-related programs for PPE and other types of equipment, but at the end of the day, we went through and learned a lot about ourselves and know that we're going to be able to implement some efficiencies in order to create, more efficient lead times, more efficient delivery, more effective working with our supply chains for more effective componentries. But in the end, it was price and delivery that would beat us out, just because there was such a high demand.
Yes.
And the ability for us to turn that around, was what limited us as far as the capability to be awarded those projects.
Okay.
But I was going to say hats off and kudos to those companies that were able to do that and answer the call and be able to turn that around because it was so desperately needed. And we know that there's a place for us in the marketplace. We're still quoting a lot of active programs, and through the learning curves that we went through early on, we've been able to apply those now, and then we'll be able to answer the call as well.
So can you give me any specifics on that? Like, is there a key lesson that you learned? Is there a key technology that comes into play, or a key process, or a key person position in the company that is key to making you more efficient?
Right. I think it's more of our cross-functional approach that we have between our mold makers and our engineers. I mean, all of our engineers are mold makers by trade anyway. So, and then and we have some employee engagement teams. And so basically it's just taking this project and going out into the shop and saying, normally we would quote this many hours. Do you see anything on this application that we could use to create some efficiencies in time? Because it's all about time. And being able to do things in less time, particularly when you're answering the call to a COVID-related project. And so I think just bringing in your team and sitting around the table and then figuring out what you could do with less, or how you could do more, with the time and talent that you have. I think you'd be amazed at what your team can come up with.
I know. That is what I think. Every story, every interview I've done, that is what's so motivating to me, because after all these years, you guys can still learn, you can be better. If there's a little bit of pressure, you find out, well, why are we doing it that way all the time? If we just change that, or just ask that question earlier, it's amazing. I think that's what we needed, right, to move forward and continue growing. So
exactly.
Again, kudos to people.
We have a couple of young apprentices that I think bring a fresh perspective to those of our more tenured mold makers that have been with us for 20-some 30 years. It just, nothing beats that cardinal knowledge that they have on the tried and true, but giving them the opportunity to look at it from a fresh perspective. I think it's been helpful, all the way around.
So how about precautions? Does MGM, in terms of helping employees, did you guys shut down initially at all, or were you open the whole time?
We were open the whole time. So we are very fortunate. We have a few key customers in the transportation industry, and we needed to keep them moving. And so we were very fortunate from that standpoint. But I believe that this generation of MGM, as well as the manufacturing industry overall, has always kept high standards and safety in the forefront.
Because you had to, right?
You had to, in the workplace is no different than in the medical industry. Though I do believe that COVID certainly raised the bar on depth and scope. So we at MGM took the necessity as well as the opportunity to kind of evaluate everything from workflow processes to just how we mix and mingle and work amongst one another. So we did make some adjustments in our high traffic areas. We also reevaluated our office space, our bench areas, and we created more suitable office and meeting spaces, for virtual meetings as well as for larger gatherings. We're still kind of that shop that started in the 1960s that wasn't really designed the way that we should conduct business and mix and mingle and works amongst one another like we do now. So again, with our employee engagement teams, we are moving forward, and it's a continuous improvement. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight with any shop.
Exactly.
This hit us pretty hard and pretty fast, but we're just constantly taking more steps, and it's been quite helpful and very effective. We've been very fortunate.
Do you see a difference in how leadership has stepped in during this crisis in terms of how they communicate and how they lead?
Yes, yeah, our leadership definitely stepped up to the plate and is engaging in continuous communication with our team members to let them know that they truly value their health and their safety, and gets their input, and has been forthcoming on what projects that we intend to do and that we have planned for, so that way they can just be aware of good things better yet to come.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So another thing related to the virus is reshoring. So do you have a position or just some insight perspective on how you see that being impacted moving forward?
Right, exactly. Well, I think depending on the industry, that the primary industry that the mold making manufacturer is serving, there's definitely a directive and a strong position to reshore that supply chain. However, the global marketplace is rapidly stepping up, and they're very aggressive on that. So I think it's up to us as the American mold maker to demonstrate and to communicate that unique value proposition that sets us as a U.S. apart from going offshore.
Yeah, true. So what is your single biggest concern related to the coronavirus moving forward?
Hands down, I think it's our future talent pool. I mean, I am seeing schools opt out of offering machine tool related or skill trade programs because of the pandemic restrictions for a project-based learning environment. And then also schools are opting out of field trips such as manufacturing day, as I discussed before. I mean, and those tours were specifically designed to expose high school students to viable career paths and experiences in manufacturing. And I truly feel that if those are not going to be offered anymore, that we will in the very near future experience a talent gap of magnitudes of what we've experienced in the past.
Before.
Yeah, just because we just don't have the talent pipeline that's going to be coming into our industry due to the lack of exposure and experience.
So that's funny, not funny, haha, but yeah, we've had one for years.
Right.
So I didn't even think about that, because here I'm so focused on I'm having so many conversations about virtual learning because we're all in this, the trade shows, the conferences, the webinars, we are forced to continue doing that. When you think about that next generation kid or young adult, I would think that would be an easier transition for that generation. But you're right, you need to touch and feel and see and talk to get that, to see that it's real. Like a traditional shop, a traditional and modern day shop don't look like, people can think of videos lying, right? I mean, let's think, I never really thought about that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, virtual is not the same as tangible, and it can be live virtual, but it's not something that you can experience yourself participating in. And maybe I'm not young enough to think that you could dive into a virtual world and have it feel like reality. But there's something to be said about having an in-person experience and just physically in a shop and having that experience on what manufacturing is and what you're capable of and how lives can be changed by participating in that industry. And then being able to have that hands-on training. So I applaud those schools and those initiatives that offer the virtual learning, and there's plenty of wonderful programs out there, but it should be a supplement and hopefully not a replacement in the long term.
Yes, exactly. All right, so lastly, how do you see mold manufacturing emerging from coronavirus in terms of what business will be like and how shops will run differently because of what they've learned through all of this?
Right. Well, I mean, I've seen through my family business and I've seen MGM go through multiple recessions and national hardships over the decades. And we've all been through it, and we've all gotten through it by simply getting lean, valuing people, and moving forward. But I have to say, at this day and age, I would encourage anyone to take succession planning with a little bit more interest. I'd have to say that succession planning is going to be a key to addressing the life cycle of your business. I don't care whether you're experiencing record growth pains or pains of shortcomings, but this pandemic and this crisis will force you to look at your business life cycle, and it will accelerate that. And so you need to go through the due diligence of that, because traditional business models have succumbed to the Amazon of things, needs, and expectations. And I mean, now and in the near future, it's just as important to work on your business as it is in your business.
I love it. Well, on that note, Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all that insight. I think it's valuable for everybody to hear little snippets of how you guys are surviving, remaining competitive, remaining inspired. So remember, everybody out there listening, for everything mold making, visit moldmakingtechnology.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, but more importantly, stay informed and stay inspired.